our next two components, which are the debt ones. If I can find them somewhere in here. Whoops. So we're going to have unsecured and secured debt. So they look pretty similar. We've got the current value. The difference is that it has a monthly payment now as what we're going to be paying down that debt with. And then we've got our interest rate and our amortization. So there's a few more details that are going to be in our debt component. Now we're looking at this, and then also in our mortgage, we've got a start date. So when we're looking at this, we're thinking, how are we going to combine these all to all be the same component? And it looks like it'll be a little bit tricky. Maybe worst case scenario, we'll have to have an assets add component and then a liabilities add component. But we'll cross that bridge when we get there. I'll build this out, and so we're going to have to put in another range bar, which means we're going to, both the amortization and the monthly payment, we're going to be adding to Redux, and so we've got to store that in the local state of this component so that when we click add, it's adding this to Redux. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add these so that they're going into the same component, or I'll walk you through what I'm doing. Let's see. Into new net worth wizards, we're going to create a new file called unsecured debt. And this is going to be very similar to the investment assets one. So we'll just kind of look at this, or the investment, both the investment and the property asset one are essentially the same. Also, I went through and I figured out what was wrong with this. It had to do with display flex on the box above it, and then I had justify content center, so it was pulling it all to the center. I don't really know why it was causing that issue, but I fixed it. So you'll find that in the code. I just didn't want to spend time with you guys watching me fix that. So we're going to be copying this over to make the same thing, but for unsecured debt. Now, this is what I was talking about. So in our initial state, we've got each of these represents a range bar. So we've got our interest rate, our current value, our book value. So a range bar or a piece of information relating to that asset or liability that we're wanting to change. So with the liabilities, we've got different types of information now. We've got the amortization. So I'm going to add a new one down here. And this will be a mini range bar, so we don't need range bar value and financial value. Amortization. Okay. And then we've also got a payment. And a payment is probably going to need the same type. It's going to look, in this case, the monthly payment, it is a regular range bar. So we're going to have to use that type. So I'm just going to so the label is monthly payment, and then the label for amortization is just amortization. Now we will change the name of this to unsecured debt. And we're going to go into our wizard, import that in. Then just do the same thing that we were doing before here. So I'm going to change, now when the count is 4, we're going to be into liabilities. And it's going to say unsecured debt. And then we will have the unsecured debt component rendered. Then I'm going to go into it and change some colors just so that we know when we click through that we're actually at the right one. So if I go in here, we've got, this is called unsecured debt. And then the types of debt would be credit cards, line of credit, really sure what other types of unsecured debt. Just a bank loan? Maybe student loan. Let's throw that in there. Actually, I'll do that instead of bank loan. And then I'm just going to put other. Oh, there already was another. Huh. Okay, so we've got these, and then I want to change the color for the header, and I'm going to use salmon. I kind of like a reddish color for debt. I think that looks good. Okay, so here we are. Okay, there we are. Unsecured debt. Credit card, line of credit, purchase price. Is this hooked up? Oh, nice. See, it's just perfectly hooked in. That's great. So we just need to add in the interest. We're going to change the interest rate. We're going to call this interest rate, and then another one that says amortization. So if I go into unsecured debt, the interest rate is called interest rate. And the amortization. So we just want to do a copy, the same thing that we did for that mini range bar right here. I'm just going to copy it down. And the state that we're passing to it is all the state that has to do with the amortization here. So it's got the range bar value, the financial value. We probably won't need those for amortization. So I'm going to take out financial value, see if that messes anything up. Then the name and the label. And in a dream world, it'll just click right in. Oh, I'll make the top one amortization. And then we're going to have to move up the range bar wrapper. So it looks like it works, but the mini range bar wrapper is too low. So here I've got its position absolute with a top of 11 rem. So I'm going to make it a top of 4 rem. See what that does. Okay, just want to bring it up a little more. Now it's not getting the color for the bar, so that means it's not receiving the props properly. And I think I know why, and I'll show you in a moment. I'll make it 1 more rem up. Top 1 rem, okay. So the reason it's not getting the color for the bar, if we go into UI, now the mini range bar is a little bit different because it doesn't have that scale where it's increasing, and it's getting, sometimes it's using percentages or not. So I use the max and the min quite extensively in it, and then those are also used to change the color of the range bar on either side. So it needs a max, a min, and a step, and we didn't pass those in. So if I go back up to here to the unsecured debt, so the range bar values that were being passed to it from amortization right here didn't include the step, the max, and the min. That's what we did up here for the interest rate. So I'm just going to copy these, paste them in, and in this case, amortization is typically like a maximum of 30 years, but I might go 40 years. So make a max of 40, a min of 0, and a step of 1. So let's see if that gives us color. There we are. So, and we can change it, but oh, it looks weird. Something's wrong. There we are. Perfect. Just hadn't fully updated. So now we've got our amortization set, our interest rate, boom, purchase price, market value. So something's wrong there. We need to change this to be monthly payment. So book value. So in this case, we're not passing book value to it. We're passing monthly payment. And what did I call this precisely? Payment. Okay, let's see how that worked. So we've just switched the data that's being passed to this range bar from book value to monthly payment. There we are, and if we change it, boom. All right. So now, if I were to add something here, oh, I also don't like the name purchase price. I'm going to change that. It's not purchase price, but it's debt value, probably. And it would be the equivalent of current value. I'll just say debt value for here. I'll have to figure out how I'm going to structure all of these different items a little later. So we've changed that. Now we're going to add one and see if it pops up in our reducer under liabilities. And it won't because we haven't changed the category. So the category up here is still assets. So it would be adding it to assets then. But we want to add it to liabilities. And now, if we add it, I'm going to say debt. We'll say credit card. Debt value, say you've got 6,000, that's pretty bad. And you're just making small monthly payments. Your amortization on a credit card is pretty long. Interest rate is 20%. Oops, so I don't have enough. In this case, I need the interest rate to have a max of 20. So actually, let's go 0.25. So the max could be 25%. Just got to update here. Okay, so let's say the interest rate is 20%. Boom. 19.99. That's kind of the going. And then credit card. There we are. Small monthly payment. So what it's going to be doing later, now that I have this information, especially with the amortization, it will be putting it, or it'll be shooting that value into their debt pay down. So then later, if they wanted to play with or it'll be showing it into their projection of their net worth. So if they played with their payment here, they could see how fast they'd pay it off. Similarly with their debt value, they could see how it'll all play out. So it'd be kind of interesting to see how it all works together. This would be credit card, and then we go add. So we're having an issue here. It's not resetting the name there. That's peculiar. And we go into the console, and hopefully we will get from Redux. So just as you'll remember, down in here, I've pulled in from Redux the net worth reducer. So the net worth reducer came from map state to props, and I passed in state to the net worth reducer. It's coming through the connect function, and then it is being brought in. We're doing some destructuring up here. So we've got the net worth reducer coming into this component. Then down here, I'm saying console log, the net worth reducer. So when we make changes, it console logs it. Now, if we go into this object, we've got assets, liabilities, and it just added it to liabilities because I called it liabilities, not liability. So, but at least we added it, so we know that we're on track here. Great. I will change this to, so right here, this is my problem. Liability. Now I'm going to go into application, and I'm just going to reset the local storage by clearing the local storage, just so that that last one with liabilities doesn't give us an issue. It's also then deleting all my other assets that I'd added, but that's fine. I don't need them. So credit cards, we'll call it credit card. You can see all of the console logs there. Some details, boom, boom, boom. Then we'll go add. And let's see. Yes, so it added to liability. So now in Redux, we've got this. Liability is added. And we've got all the details that we need. So the trouble is, if we decide that we want one component that's doing both assets and liabilities, for assets, we're not going to need to have things like the amortization or the payment. And similarly, for the debts, we won't need things like book value, or I think maybe just book value. So there's going to be a little bit of wasted information pushed into Redux, which is a bummer, but it would just be so nice to have one component. So I'm gonna still go ahead on my mission to just do the one component. I also need to change these titles here. That's not good. So that's in the wizard. Now, for some reason, it is showing these guys. I don't know why it's doing that. So count, if the count is 3, it should be assets and property. And if the count is 4, it should show liabilities and unsecured debt. But I don't know why it's still showing assets and properties. So let's refresh, but that's really strange. It's a bit of a mystery. So property. Oh, somehow I messed up my numbers. Okay. Shoot. Okay, so count, let's just say count starts at 0. We'll refresh. And then this I'm going to have to move over, but I don't want to waste too much of your time doing that. So we go through, this is our first version, which was nice, but it was a little too light, and then we didn't have feedback, so we wanted some more feedback. So now we've got some colorization to it, a little bit more feedback. Well, once we add it, we'll have the chart up here, so they'll be able to see that. Unsecured debt. Okay, so this is our problem. So it goes investment, it goes short-term, investment, unsecured debt. And oh, here's my problem. Oh, that's so embarrassing. I bet you guys saw that and you're like, Ben, what are you doing? You probably just wanted to text me and be like, don't. Okay, that's my problem. I had these switched. Now. Okay, so we'll go through again. Short-term, investments, property, unsecured debt. Yep, I think we're good. Then we'll have a secured debt. That one's going to be a little bit more complicated because we've got to get the date in there, and then we're set. Cool. All right, I will pause and we'll go again.